But as Dr. Rankin covered, and as many of you who probably follow SAU athletics are aware of, the Great American Conference, we are in our first year as an NCAA Division II conference, one of 23 conferences. We have 9 members. You'd think that one of the easiest questions that I would have to answer would be, how many members does your league have? Well, the answer is not quite that simple for us at this point. We have our 9 charter members, which are the 6 Arkansas schools, the longtime members of the Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference, which one thing that we really want to do as a conference is go back. Are there any former SAU athletic lettermen that played in the AIC?
Any sport?
Any sport. Okay, one of the things that we really want to accomplish as a league with the heritage that our schools had in the AIC, our Oklahoma members in the Oklahoma Intercollegiate Conference, we want to go back, rebuild all of those archives, and put on the web a listing of past champions, past all-conference teams, and really recognize the great tradition that our membership has. But of course, the 6 Arkansas schools, SAU, your neighbors in South Arkansas, over in Monticello, Arkansas Tech, Harding, and as I got introduced to last week, the 2 schools in Arkadelphia who really don't like each other very much. Stopped in Arkadelphia today to drop off some football trophies, and on one side of the street I was told that we have the best officials in America after the decision at the goal line during the Battle of the Ravine, which was won by Henderson 41-36 over Ouachita. You know, it's amazing. All I had to do was cross the street and found out that we have the worst football officials in America. So, yeah, I guess it's all whether you wear red glasses or purple glasses. But we have 3 charter members from Oklahoma, East Central University, Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Southeastern Oklahoma State University. Our league is not one for the geographically dyslexic. And it gets a little bit more complicated along those lines. Next year we add Southern Nazarene University, which is in Bethany, a suburb of Oklahoma City, as our 10th member. They are an NAIA school that has begun the transition into the NCAA Division II ranks. We have an invitation that has been extended to Northwestern Oklahoma State University, and they will become our 11th member once they gain admission to the NCAA. They applied this past year and were denied. It was a very strong group of applicants, and the NCAA has a cap of how many schools they will take in a particular year. So unfortunately, Northwestern was denied this year, but we fully expect them to make it in July and become member number 11 of the Great American Conference. We participate in 13 championship sports. We just wrapped up our first fall championships. Cross country was hosted by Harding University, and those were won by East Central University's men, who became the first Great American Conference school to compete in a national championship. They recently finished second at the South Central Regional Cross Country Meet, and they compete in Tacoma, Washington tomorrow in the national championship. Harding won the women's championship. Our first football championship, in spite of their loss to Henderson State, was won by Ouachita Baptist. We had a little bit of an unusual situation this year with the late exit from the Gulf South Conference. We had our Arkansas schools had to devote 3 games to games against the GSC. The Oklahoma schools, by and large, played a full round-robin schedule, so we were a little bit disjointed. We had some schools playing 5 games, some schools playing 6, 7. A few played the full 8 games, and the thing that made the Battle of the Ravine even more interesting this year is Ouachita won the championship by virtue of percentage, but they finished with the same record as Henderson State. So as I was informed, when I got the compliment that we had great officials, that Henderson may not have been the Great American Conference champions, but they're the champions of the city of Arkadelphia. But basketball, we just started last week, getting ready to start conference play later this month. Came back from Bartlesville, Oklahoma, which has a wonderful facility, a lot of interest in. They're the host of our conference championship, and we're excited to be out there. And And any of you that are big basketball fans will begin to have some ticket packages, hotel information on our website, Great American Conference, very soon. And in the spring, baseball, softball, and really excited. You know, I believe we're going to be one of the top Division II baseball conferences in America, and certainly one of the bell cows of our conference. And it was right here in Magnolia. Tremendous baseball program. Can't wait to get back down this spring. 12 years in West Virginia, I've watched a lot of baseball in the snow and cold weather, so really looking forward to seeing some good baseball in short sleeves. But again, I think we're off to a tremendous start. I would say this, whether one of my bosses was sitting here or not, we've had tremendous leadership at the presidential level, at the athletic director level, to get this thing off the ground, because it really was a short turnaround. We started really in earnest, our leadership, last July, and for us to be playing games, determining champions within a year and a half of that, that is fine. And there's a conference that is beginning in the upper Midwest of Ohio schools that probably will be 2 or 3 years down the road, and they just hired someone, and they're thinking of beginning play 3 years from now. So I have to give a lot of credit to our leadership. For those of you who wonder a little bit why we don't have automatic spots in NCAA championships at this point, we get that 2 years from now. We're hoping to get that next year. There's a 2-year wait requirement that the NCAA requires of new conferences before you get automatic spots into national tournaments. We feel, since we have 9 long-term members of the NCAA, that we can make a very good case to get that 2nd year waived. And we make that appeal to the NCAA Division II Championship Committee in February, and we're keeping our fingers crossed there. And I don't know how we are on time, but if there's any questions about the conference, or and I can't believe I'm throwing myself out for this one. Anyone who wants to complain about NCAA football rules, as a member of the Football Rules Committee, here's your shot. But open the floor up.
What kind of staff do you have?
We have a 4-person staff. We're based in Russellville. Have one person that handles sports information, all of the media relations. Another young lady who you couldn't pay me enough money in the world to handle her job. She's in charge of the NCAA compliance and all of those rules. And someone who handles a lot of our staff operations. We pay all of the officials out of the conference office, making sure that goes smoothly in our other conference operations. So we have a 4-person staff.
Yeah, since Arkansas schools and 3 Oklahoma schools, how do we wind up with all the championships in Oklahoma?
Good question. Quite honestly, money. When we went through the process of determining championship sites, we talked with communities across Arkansas and Oklahoma, and frankly, every place that we talked to in Arkansas that had a suitable venue were places that we would have to pay to have our championships there. The championships, well, actually, we do have one championship that we're getting ready to announce. It's not finalized, but we do have the contract signed and waiting to make an announcement. The softball championship will be in Bentonville, but baseball, which will be in Enid, Oklahoma, basketball in Bartlesville. Quite frankly, it was those communities stepped up and made very significant financial contributions that allowed the conference to have those championships in those communities at no cost.
I have a rules question for football, since you asked that. Back in the old days, when Nipper and Waters played without face masks, if an offensive lineman blinked an eye, they threw a 5-yard illegal procedure penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Now all these teams don't huddle. They go to the line, the quarterback calls out a dummy signal, and all 4 linemen except the center stand up and turn and look at the coach. And why is that not a penalty?
It kind of goes back to the old, if you remember, the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s really started that with, they would come to the line and do the kind of hunch down, come up, and then go down. And over time, there's lots of things that really have evolved as the game has evolved. Probably the big thing that I would think of as a difference in just how, football rules, it's a lot like the law. You know, how the judiciary interpreted things 30, 40 years ago may not necessarily be how it's interpreted now. But holding, that's another one that, you look at old games, and remember when I played, you had to be in here and you couldn't, and now, it seems like you can almost mug people. So I know that's not a great answer, but a lot of it just goes in, the rule hasn't changed, but the interpretation by the officials and the people who make those assignments has.
Is the ultimate goal, we got, like I said, 11 teams will pretty soon. Is it ultimate to have 12 teams and have an east-west?
Yeah, I don't know that we really want to go in the direction of an east-west. That might be a little bit, might be a direction we look at. 12 schools is a number that we definitely want to arrive at, but I think one thing, the word divisions, it does exactly what it entails. It divides you. And certainly with the point that we're at in our development as a conference, I would like to see us stay in one division, one big league, try to play a full round robin in as many sports as we can in order to build those rivalries, really build the foundation of a conference before we start doing things that divide us into the Oklahoma schools or the Arkansas schools. And for travel purposes, there may be some sports that we do that in, but philosophically, as many things as we can, I would like to remain one division. But 12 certainly is the target number for membership.
But in football, that puts you in a round robin odd-year scenario, though. How are you going to come up with that? Are you going to play 12 games?
Well,
11 games?
Division II football is in really a strange place. The region that we're getting ready to join for competitive purposes is the Central Region. And only the NCAA in its infinite wisdom would see Magnolia, Arkansas, Weatherford, Oklahoma, Russellville, Arkansas, in a region with a bunch of schools from Minnesota and North Dakota and literally Canada. But all of the schools that are in our region play a full round robin, 11 conference games within their conference schedule, and Division II football scheduling is exceptionally difficult, and we may have to resort to playing, the entire schedule being the other 11 conference schools, because it's not possible to find those other Division II competitions. In the back.
What are the grade point requirements to stay eligible today?
Great point. I was going to say, I wish I had my compliance lady here. But essentially, are you asking initial eligibility or to remain eligible?
Remain eligible.
Past 24 hours in a year, maintain a 2.0. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the quick and dirty version.
You made it, Scott?
I can't make it.
Are you also the supervisor of officials?
No,
Do you assign the officials?
no. But the people who handle that task work for me. And I tell them, your job is that my phone doesn't ring on Monday morning. If my phone rings too often on Monday mornings, then that tells me that we start having a problem at some point in our process. And I think we had a pretty good football season, knock on wood. We have 3 crews that have been selected to work in the NCAA postseason. Obviously, as a new league, we have a lot of new people on our staff. Some of those will be retained, some of our old people will be retained, but it's a very, it's not a permanent situation. The guys that maybe you saw work a football game this year, all of those people, you're not guaranteed that you're going to work next year. We want that to be merit, that you keep earning that spot year after year.
Are there annual requirements that your officials have to reach every year as far as training, meeting exercise requirements or conditions?
That's a little bit of a sticky spot there. A lot of conferences have had those, a lot of conferences have had those in the past, and believe it or not, litigation has removed the requirements of you have to run a mile and so long, or that some sports have, but there are requirements as far as you have to go to a certain number of meetings by sport. Obviously, we did not retain some people who had officiated in the Gulf South Conference or the Lone Star that wanted to join our staff. And the ability to move around effectively on a football field. Again, you have different positional requirements. A back judge is going to have to be able to be a lot more nimble and run more than an umpire. But the physical conditioning, while there's not a finite standard, it is considered.
Dan Gregory's highly qualified for basketball.
Play half court.
Did you see the film of the Henderson and Washita game?
Yes, I did.
Did they make this touchdown?
This is going to be the most politically correct answer you've heard today. My official was in the right position to make the call on that, and I have not seen anything that would be definitive one way or the other to say that he was not correct. The funniest part on that is Saturday evening we're having our volleyball championship game. At 6:36 I get a still photo from the Henderson State Athletic Director entitled "Proof that he didn't get in." At 6:38 I got an email from David Sharp, the Athletic Director at Washita Baptist, with a still picture entitled "Proof that he got in." So,
Well, did Washita accuse the officials of being Methodist?
come to think of it, I did get called, personally a dirty Methodist when I was at Washita today, so there may be something to that. Right over here.
It seems to me that at all levels of athletics in schools, that we're seeing an increased level of extracurricular violence. A few weeks ago, there was a fight at a junior high game between Monticello and Hamburg, which has caused those schools to cancel their basketball games against each other. I had my camera ready because I thought we were going to see some fights at the SAU-UAM game. And it just seems that at all levels that we're seeing more extracurricular violence. To what degree is the GAC going to be proactive in trying to stop some of this before it happens?
That's a great question, and it's something as a high school official, I notice more, I think we have more mouthing, more chippiness just in general than when I started officiating 16 years ago. At the first thing, I really think the big thing there, and not trying to downplay the role that the conference office plays, but I think a lot of it has to do on campus. It begins with coaches. If you see it coming in lots of cases. It's incumbent on the coach to remove those players from the field if it's a long-term problem, and maybe taking more drastic actions than that. If coaches aren't addressing the problem, then athletic directors and presidents addressing that with their coaches. And it's something that we've made a focus on because frankly we had some incidents late in the season that once teams were eliminated from contention for playoffs, that we really tried to make that a focus with our officials, and we have to address it from that point. If you see a pattern developing over and over with a certain team, a certain coach, at some point we have to take action from the conference office. But I think that we all really share some role in trying to solve that problem. And the biggest problem is, I'll take a few jabs at my brethren in Division I, and most particularly those people in professional sports. I think a lot of it stems from what kids at a younger age on up through college, what they see on ESPN, what they see on Fox Sports. I think a lot of that carries over to the problems we have, and I really wish that they would take more steps to eliminate it at those levels. But again, I think it's a television show to them, and I'm sure that some of you may think that I'm naive. I still think at the NCAA Division II level that it's part of the educational process for us. Obviously, we want to make as much gate as we can at contests. We want to develop media rights agreements, but by and large, this isn't about money. Our student athletes are a part of our campus, and we need to make sure that it really does stay kind of in that focus. So,
Do you have the authority to suspend a player for the next game for bad hit?
I do. That's,
Is it automatically set in stone that it's one game, or can it be?
it can be multiple. The NCAA rule book changed a couple of years ago. Any personal foul that an official determines to be flagrant must be watched by the conference office. And how that works in our league, we have a system called game tape exchange. We have a shot from the sideline, a shot from the end zone. Typically, when we have those, my supervisor of football officials, which is a gentleman over in Texarkana named Jeff Robertson, who's a Southeast Conference official, he takes a look at the play, forwards it on to me, I take a look at it, and we had one situation this year that a player was suspended for a game, and the fight rule is an automatic in the NCAA. And it's kind of a bizarre rule because it's not quite like the high school rule. You're suspended the first half of the next game, but that's one, if it's worse, the conference obviously can take action to extend that suspension, and frankly, in the situations that we had this year, those were handled by the institution even before we could take action.
Change the subject a little bit. As a Ole Miss graduate, can you give us any insight on who the new coach might be?
Yeah, knowing that Coach Nutt has a lot of family in Mississippi or in Arkansas, now, anytime that you want your old coach back, we would have given him to you, but my gut feeling is, I think that at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Hugh Freeze at ASU.